I think people knew there was something very wrong with that crime. And I was enraged because the first, I think from the police, the first statement was to describe the attacker as Cardiff born. Now, you know, Dan, I'm a proud Welsh woman. And I thought, we don't have many Welsh men who allegedly run amok with a knife in a room full of little girls. So I think people immediately knew this smells bad, doesn't it? This is something completely other, alien, horrible. And that's why people were getting upset and wanting to hear. And the authorities didn't want to disclose what they knew. And as you say, quite rightly, don't tell me they wouldn't have known pretty quickly that this individual was allegedly making a bioweapon in their kitchen. That information is going to go straight to the Home Secretary and the Prime Minister and to the security services. So it's extremely serious. And I think the idea is, let's not give these plebs a reason to kick off.
Now, Allison Pearson has been another beacon of free speech in 2024. And after being visited by the police over a post on X, she took the bold decision to reveal all to Outspoken. Allison Pearson, I mean, seriously, I know this is almost sublime. It's ridiculous. But I don't see any sort of funny side to this. I think it's terrifying. It's chilling. It's a waste of police resources. And according to the briefing to your newspaper today, the police are still investigating this as a crime.
Well, I've been very keen to come on Outspoken, Dan, as you know. And but I didn't know I'd be coming on as a potential jailbird.
Perfect day for it.
I'm very glad the great Dan Wootton is prepared to associate with a non-crime hate incident. Yeah, it is. At one level, it's mad, isn't it? It's farcical.
Ludicrous, yep.
What could I possibly have done that would deserve a visit from two policemen, given, as you know, and the viewers will know, that they don't go to burglaries or certain domestic violence things, they don't attend. So the fact that they would come to my house, two of them, to talk to me about something I posted on X, Twitter, a year ago, does seem a bit of an overreaction, doesn't it? But as you say, Dan, it's not that funny, because I have to say it was horrible. It's my country, and we were there on Remembrance Day, when, of course, we commemorate all those amazingly brave, mainly young men, who gave their lives for this country so it could be free and not under the jackboot of tyranny. And here we are with two coppers the same age as many of those guys who gave their lives, coming to my door and in what I took as being tyrannical, really, just totally inappropriate. And as you said, I asked them, what is this hateful tweet I posted? We're not allowed to tell you. Who is my accuser? We're not allowed to tell you, but they are the victim, not the accuser. Doesn't sound like justice, does it, Dan?
I mean, that word should not be used, by the way. It should always be accuser. And of course, it's not justice at all. I mean, if it was justice, you would absolutely be told what the post was, so you could presumably justify it from a journalistic or a commentary or a free speech perspective. But I mean, Allison, come on, I read most of your posts on X. You're not posting anything illegal. Come on.
Well, I also have whatever 160,000 followers. I haven't had any of them saying, we saw something disgusting you posted. Obviously, we all get a bit of argy-bargy, don't we, from the odd person who says we disagree with you or you're horrible or whatever. And particularly, as you mentioned, Dan, since I started championing setting up the British Friends of Israel to try and help British Jews after the 7th of October massacres, I've got a lot more nasty commentary. You want children to die, that kind of thing.
But and that's what this is about, isn't it? You have clearly been targeted by the very powerful pro-Hamas lobby here. And they try lots of different methods. They try mass reporting. And in this case, I would say they're actually manipulating the legal process to try and shut down fair debate about the actions of Hamas after October the 7th?
I think until we know what the tweet is, I can't be sure, but I would bet my bottom dollar that it was people on the left who had been digging through my Twitter feed looking for something that they could say caused offence. And I think the bar should be set very high for these things, stirring up racial hatred, stirring up whatever. You know, have I caused rioting? Have I caused attacks on people? I certainly hope not. And I think the trouble is, Dan, is it's so subjective, isn't it? What you and I would see as freely expressing our centre-right views, other people would see as hateful. But we can't have a legal system that's based on subjective views, can we?
No, and also, we don't even have the resources to police speech. I mean, the idea of regulating the internet is not only nonsensical, it's practically impossible. So just give up. What has depressed me a bit today, though, Alison, I mean, I've been looking on X and you have been trending and lots of people are talking about you. We saw the very important intervention from Elon Musk, but I turned on PMQs earlier, not a mention. I've watched a lot of the mainstream media today, aside from GB News, Sly News, BBC, aren't following up on this as one of the biggest stories of the day. And when I've been looking for senior politicians who you would think, especially on the conservative side of things, this would be a cause they should be championing, the best I've got is from the former Home Secretary, Suella Braverman, who said, more from the thought police under a Labour government. We need to stop policing words on social media and tackle actual crime. My message to Labour: protect freedom of speech, stop the overreach and focus on keeping our streets safe. But I don't hold out much hope. And she's copied in Elon Musk. But Alison, do you see what I mean? It's like, where are the other senior politicians?
Yeah, well, Robert Jenrick reached out to me, who was the Tory leadership candidate, and he said he thought it was disgraceful. I've actually heard, Dan, from lots of so-called normal people saying they've had very similar things happening to them. And the Free Speech Union thinks this is up to about 65 a day of these things now, if you can believe it. So I think what's happening is that police forces find it relatively easy to sit on their backsides and scroll through social media. Plus, a senior Home Office source has said to me that chief constables, some of whom are quite woke, rather like pleasing the pressure groups who come to them with racism and whatever, Islamophobia, so they can say, oh, it's great, we've issued, so many non-crime hate incidents, and then they'll all go away happy that that's going on. And if you look at the figures, astonishingly, for Essex police solving crime, hardly any solving of burglaries or indeed sexual violence. But the highest thing, one of the highest things is racial and religious aggravation and indeed hate crime. So that's where they're really good, is thought crime, not very good at the crime which actually endangers people's lives or makes them lose property. Or I would think that most of the people watching us, Dan, would want their taxes spent on actually policing as we understand it, stop preventing the public doing harm and catching the bad people, not going around and, getting people like me who could have said something a bit, slightly indiscreet or whatever. I'm not saying my Twitter record or whatever's X record is perfect, but I certainly think that this heavy-handedness is just un-British. Well, maybe now in Soviet Britain it is British.
The new Britain, Soviet Britain, it's utterly terrifying. And the thing is, Alison, I look at all of this from a macro point of view, and I believe it is intentional. Because if you look at the Southport Massacre, and again, huge credit to you, huge credit to the Daily Telegraph, you are pretty much the only mainstream media organ, and your column specifically on the first day of this revelation, that has specifically questioned the cover-up over Axel Rudakabana, over the fact that he was charged with terror, that he was producing ricin, according to the charges, that he had an Al-Qaeda Most of the media has literally ignored this. No one has asked a question of Keir Starmer or Yvette Cooper saying, what did you know when? But your column on this was something that bucked the trend, really, of the rest of the mainstream media. But I think it's intentional because what they did is try and terrify the plebs. Terrify people like me, terrify people like you, make us think, goodness, we could all end up in jail. They did that probably knowing, according to Liz Truss on this show and according to Priti Patel in your newspaper, The Daily Telegraph, who both say that Yvette Cooper and Keir Starmer would have known about those potential terror charges, about the discovery of the rice and the discovery of the Al-Qaeda manual. And yet they were still going out and talking about misinformation, talking about the snake oil of populism. And I think this was all intentional. There is a genuine attempt by this Labour government to make people too terrified to speak out.
I think that's absolutely spot on, Dan. And I think what we always see when these potentially Islamist-linked crimes are committed, there's an immediate a sort of schedule of things they do, which, as you say, is warning people against speculation, criticizing people for potential racism, misinformation. Now, I think the majority of British people knew after that Southport horrific massacre in which 3 little girls died, I think people knew there was something very wrong with that crime. And I was enraged because the first, I think from the police, the first statement was to describe the attacker as Cardiff born. Now, you know, Dan, I'm a proud Welsh woman. And I thought, we don't have many Welsh men who allegedly run amok with a knife in a room full of little girls. So I think people immediately knew this smells bad, doesn't it? This is something completely other, alien, horrible. And that's why people were getting upset and wanting to hear. And the authorities didn't want to disclose what they knew. And as you say, quite rightly, don't tell me they wouldn't have known pretty quickly that this individual was allegedly making a bioweapon in their kitchen. That information is going to go straight to the Home Secretary and the Prime Minister and to the security services. So it's extremely serious. And I think the idea is, let's not give these plebs a reason to kick off. But in fact, what happened was that backfired, and then people got very upset and angry. And I would say that the alleged murder of 3 beautiful little girls was a cause to get upset and to be very angry and to wonder what manner of person is this that's living in our country who carries out this barbaric slaughter. But as we know from my visit from the police expressing any of this, I mean, who knows, you know, they can call anything racism, Dan.
Yes,
even if you're...
And the tentacles, though, Alison, what really concerns me is they run so deep. You know, it really is the deep state, the blob in action, to the point where the Speaker, Lindsay Hoyle, discovers that Richard Tice is intending to ask a question about the cover-up in PMQs and literally opens the session by saying that he will not even accept it being raised, the question being raised. And then the mainstream media have all followed up on that. I mean, I know that it can be published. I mean, the Daily Telegraph, I presume they legaled your piece. They're not going to publish it unless they've checked contempt of court ruling. Not one mainstream journalist, and they've had lots of opportunities, has asked Keir Starmer or Yvette Cooper what they knew when. So it really does feel like the true sense of a cover-up where all of the establishment are working together to stop a conversation from being had.
Yes, and you know, you could expect at least a few raised eyebrows when the police insist that it's not terrorist related. Well, we'll have to take their word for that, Dan. But the presence of an Al-Qaeda how-to manual, including details about lone attackers and so on, you know, some people might suggest or allege that there was some circumstantial evidence that made this look quite a lot like something a terrorist would do. But I did write something in the Telegraph, and it was very heavily lawyered, and you have to proceed carefully because if any legal proceedings are underway, you obviously have to be very careful not to prejudice the trial.
Look, keep being brave because we need you. I mean, honestly, Alison, there are so few people who I trust in the mainstream media anymore, and you are one of the handful. Don't let them get to you because that is what they want. I'm delighted to see the Telegraph backing you in such a big way today, acknowledging this is such a big story.
Essex Police has issued a statement describing me as having given an inaccurate and unethical account of what took place. Now, I gave a very quick account as soon as it had happened to Toby Young, who's the General Secretary of the Free Speech Union. It was, to the best of my recollection, obviously I was very shocked. So I didn't know what happened second by second, but the key points are they wouldn't tell me what I'd done wrong, what I'd said, and they wouldn't tell me who'd accused me. So those key points remain, and I think probably Essex Police are extremely embarrassed and defensive as we've now shone a spotlight on their very poor record of solving other crimes while being prepared to harass blameless middle-class ladies of Essex.
Leave the middle-class Essex woman alone, please God. But first, you know how often I talk about the need for free speech to be protected? Well, I've been increasingly thinking of the need for personal protection from snoopers, bad actors, and hackers online. And I'm delighted to tell you I have now found the fail-safe solution. But what's more, this VPN or virtual private network is also a life changer when it comes to providing you entertainment and information from anywhere in the world. So let me introduce you to Surfshark. I love it. It's such a good service, totally easy to use. And what it does is encrypt all your internet traffic, translation, keeping your online activity safe so you can shop, stream, browse, bank online in complete privacy. But the benefits of Surfshark go way beyond keeping you safe online. It allows you to access your favorite entertainment and news shows and news channels and international streaming services like Hulu, iPlayer, HBO Max, Peacock, Amazon Prime, Disney Plus, and Netflix. So within seconds, you can be watching any of those services as if you're in another country, which often gives you access to lots of content which may be geo-blocked. Very helpful as well if you're traveling for work or on holiday, because it means when you're overseas, you can continue watching your sports content or other content actually from home, which is also geo-blocked. It's really a good protection against creeping censorship too. I always use the example actually of France, which, believe it or not, makes it impossible to watch Rumble now. But Surfshark allows you to watch anything, anytime, anywhere. It is true freedom. A VPN is also a big money saver because you can access sales on websites that change their prices depending on where you're accessing them from. There are other benefits of Surfshark too. You can use it on unlimited devices, meaning your entire household can stay safe with just one subscription. There's over 3,200 servers in over 100 countries. This means a world of choice is at your fingertips with 24/7 customer service too. Really helpful actually if this is your first time using a VPN, although I promise you I've signed up quite a long time ago now, gone through the whole process. I love using it, but I also find it incredibly user-friendly. So surfshark.com/outspoken is the address for an extra 4 months of Surfshark at an unbeatable price. Check this out too. If you're not totally happy with the service, after 30 days, you will get all your money back. So let me just repeat that website address now, www.surfshark.com/outspoken for an extra 4 months of Surfshark at an unbeatable price. But now, back to the show. Absolutely outrageous what Allison Pearson had to go through. Within days of her recording that interview with me, Essex Police did decide to take no further action following mass public and media pressure, but the chilling impact of that decision remains. It's not a surprise to me that membership of the Free Speech Union has absolutely soared as a result of the, I think, crackdown on free speech, dystopian crackdown on free speech in the wake of the Southport Massacre. We should be embarrassed in the UK. Our politicians should be embarrassed in the UK that Elon Musk now describes us as a totalitarian police state. Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source. and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.